Essay correction and discussion of a particular essay. It's an opinion essay of the to what extent do you agree or disagree variety. And our topic tonight is compulsory community service. It's a very good one-sided essay, but there are some common mistakes that we will see about in discussing the other side. So, what do we have? Here's the question. Well, before we begin that, let's talk about a commonly asked question with this type of essay. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Do you need to address both sides? Well, let's talk about that quickly. The short answer is no. You don't need to address both sides to get a band 7 in task response. And we're just talking about task response. None of the other aspects of the band descriptors come into play in this question. Okay, and laser pointer? Okay, so no. Except if you're disagreeing. I think that if you're disagreeing, then yes, you do need to discuss both sides because you have to say what you're disagreeing with. A lot of people have no opinion, and a lot of people are just trying to get a 7. So if you are faced with the question of agree and disagree and you don't know, well, first do your brainstorming, but it's always easier to agree than to disagree. All right, however, if you want to get a band 8 in task response, in my humble opinion, you do need to present both sides. However, there are some mistakes which you should avoid while doing so. And if you make these mistakes, you might not be qualified as maintaining a clear position throughout. Remember, you're only supposed to, if you're only showing one side, well, then only show one side. And another point I want to make is that it's okay to overgeneralize a little bit and still get to band 7. Now, why did I pick this essay? Not because of this. Here's the question. Some people believe that unpaid community service should be compulsory part of high school programs. Give some examples. To what extent? Do you agree or disagree? Now, in the post, this part here, which is part of every task 2, was not written. And most people don't write it because this is in every question. But that doesn't mean you can ignore it. Give reasons for your answers and include any relevant examples for your own knowledge and experience. It's a very good question. I know it well. It's from one of the Cambridge books. I think it's either 8 or 9. And I've read many answers to this question as it is part of the class that I teach at my school. It's not I don't own the school, but anyway. Have you ever given any thought to this question before? Probably not. So, again, just as a general, to help everybody, we'll get to the writer's essay in a minute, let's talk about brainstorming. In the last video I did like this, showed you a 2-column approach. Well, this is a very neat version of the mind map approach, where you take a circle. And what are the 2 sides here? Should be compulsory. What's the opposite of compulsory? Voluntary. Okay, some of the reasons why someone might support this idea would be that it does the community good. Young people will learn the value of work and of being civic-minded and will be exposed to a lot of new experiences that they wouldn't have otherwise. But voluntary, well, you know what? I believe in freedom, and I don't think that mandatory, compulsory anything goes along with these ideas. It's debasing, which means it lessens the value of community service by making it mandatory. If you have to do it, what's the value in it? In fact, people might reject it later. Oh God, community service, that's what I had to do in high school. You know, in my country, people do community service because maybe they've been convicted of a crime and it's something they have to do. And really, it's not the school's role, really. So on a whole, if I were to make these notes, now not only do I have an opinion about what side I believe in, I got a couple of ideas. Can I write about all 4? No, I have to pick a couple of them. She chose to go with this side, and she picked exposure to new ideas. Well, we'll see what she picked. Once again, let's look at the introduction. Now, there's a very important reason why I chose this blog. I chose this essay.
It is needless to say that community work is essential for the well-being of individuals and the society. That is why there is a view that unpaid community service should be an obligatory part of high school courses. This essay strongly agrees with this statement.
I would say so. Now, before we look at my marking, let's look at how I mark. These color codes, like any good correction service, you should expect your feedback to be based upon the band descriptors. And these are the band descriptors. Task response. How well do you support your argument? How well do you answer all parts of the question? Cohesion means connection between ideas inside of a paragraph and between paragraphs. Coherence is, can it be understood? Is it easy to understand? Vocabulary, grammar, range, different types of sentences, and accuracy, limiting errors. And here's my thoughts. The reason this essay jumped out at me as I was scrolling through and I saw, oh, it is needless to say. And it gave me, it's something I've been thinking about for some time. And I should probably put at the end of the video, yeah, I can still do that, the link to the blog that I have some warnings about sentences like this. It is needless to say. It goes without saying. Of course, it is undoubtedly true. Without a doubt. These are expressions of certainty, and they have a place in academic writing. Usually I see them in the body paragraph somewhere, and when used well, they're effective. However, to use it in this way, to begin an essay with "it is needless to say," it will work if what is coming after it is in fact needless to say. What does that mean? That it is beyond a doubt, without any possibility of denying it. Is essential for the well-being of individuals. Essential, meaning required. I mean, it must be. You must do community work if you want to have a sense of well-being. Well, no. I do community work. That's what I'm doing right now. I do it for on this page. I'm not getting paid for this. I do it because it improves my sense of well-being. That's fine. However, I didn't do it in high school, and many people I know have a sense of well-being, and they don't do any community work. So it is needless to say that community work often provides a sense of well-being to individuals, and I don't know how well-being how a society can have well-being. So, as an opening statement, I think that's a problem. It certainly makes your opinion clear from the start, but can you support this opinion? That is why there is a view that the question doesn't ask why there is a view. Unpaid community service. You do a good job throughout with your vocabulary, but this is the exact same wording as the question. And there's other ways you could have paraphrased that to show an excellent lexical range. So, for example, you could have said, it needs to say, therefore, it is understood why, that is why there is a view that high schools should make community service an obligatory part of their courses. Community service is a strong collocation that's hard to separate, but unpaid certainly can be paraphrased. Okay, here you have certainly fulfilled the to what extent requirement. Oh, yeah, I forgot about my bullet points. I wrote a whole blog about this usage. That is why it doesn't ask the views. Better choices are available. All right, let's hear body paragraph 1.
Community service helps students develop important transferable skills, which are necessary for working life.
Okay.
This is because, by doing this work, students are exposed to various situations, and they are taught how to deal with different types of people. As a result, they learn many beneficial skills such as working in a team, taking responsibility, and making sound judgments and decisions. Unless students get this kind of experience, they will fail to adapt to the stress of adult life.
Well, what do I think about that? Let's take a look. Now, the reason why the blue is just on the first letter is I would have liked to have seen some type of transition from the introduction into the paragraph, into the first body paragraph. Something to let the reader know that they're about to hear about why you think this is important. Something like the first advantage, or the first benefit of community service is that it helps students develop transferable skills. That's excellent, but transferable to what? Okay. The important transferable skills for later life. Now we know what they're transferable to. So excellent vocabulary, that's why it's underlined. Underlined means good. Which are necessary for working life. So without these skills, they won't have a working life. Necessary is a bit strong. Which are useful, which are beneficial, perhaps. This is because, comma. I want to call this a grammar error, but I want to point out something that you began the introduction with, this is why. And now you say, this is because, in the second sentence of this paragraph. That's the same structure. Don't repeat your structures in your paragraphs. Various situate, bit vague, what types. And they are taught. Well, I don't know if they're taught or more that they learn how to deal with different types of people, such as, now you do use a example down here, but I would like to have an example here of the different types of people and how they are taught. Okay, so as a result, is it a result? You just said they are taught, so the result is they learn, okay, many beneficial skills. Here's a very interesting sentence because it demonstrates a very high level of grammar structure that everyone could learn and improve their essays. It's called parallelism. That when you have three terms, working, taking, making, they should all have the same, there should be the same type of word. Here we have, the ing form. So if this is a noun, that should be a noun, that should be a noun. Here we have, again, very good parallelism. However, are they skills? I don't know. Taking responsibility, is that a skill or a character or a quality? I think of skills like typing and computers and things like that. And English is a skill. These are, they learn many beneficial, they not necessarily learn, they develop many beneficial traits, such as teamwork, responsibility, and sound judgment. Maintaining the parallel, noun, and being more accurate. Here's my first example of an unsupported conclusion. Unless students get this kind of experience, they will fail to adapt to the stress of adult life. If you don't do community service, you will kill yourself. Fail to adapt to the stress of adult life? I don't know. Again, once again, I didn't do any community service as a teenager, and I adapt pretty well to the stress of adult life. It's an extremely strong jumping to conclusion type statement. And it's really one of the only weaknesses in this essay. So, well, once again, I forgot to use my bullet points. You explain why this skill is going to unclear. This is because. Well, what? What is because? Parallel structure, clunky wording. It simply does not stand. However, you overgenerally paragraph 2.
Nevertheless, unfortunately, only a few students will do unpaid community service by choice. The reason for this is that high school students usually place more value on other subjects like mathematics, chemistry, and history, since these subjects are more related to third-level education. Moreover,
Yeah.
studying these courses is overwhelming as it puts a strain on students, thus leaving little time for unpaid work.
Okay.
Therefore,
Good point.
community work should be made a compulsory part of high school
Why?
programs to ensure that all students reap its benefits.
Make them do it. Why? Here's my points. Once again, you begin the second sentence with the reason for this, just like you did the 2 paragraphs before. Okay. Only school subjects that we capitalize are languages, like English. We don't capitalize mathematics. Third level, tertiary. Moreover. Oh, please avoid moreover. You actually use it somewhat well. You have an understanding that the thing that comes after the moreover must be more important than the thing that comes before. And I think I would agree that the dire, horrible thing that you describe in the next bit is more important. Well, it puts a strain. Well, what kind of strain? I'm not sure. And it puts a strain on leaving them with little time for unpaid work. Well, little time to do anything else, I would imagine. It sounds like a really tough situation. You wouldn't want to enforce some type of mandatory work outside of these overwhelming subjects, would you? Apparently you do. Therefore, community must be made a compulsory part. Why? I don't understand how these very valid points are. I don't understand your basis of disagreeing with them. That they reap its benefits? I don't know. What are the consequences? How do you deal with them? Conclusion. No recording here. Make sure all students benefit by the experience, not are benefit by. But really, that was like the only green other than the history, the miscapitalization. So that's pretty good. 1 grammar error in the whole essay. So here's the essay as a whole. See, we've got a bunch of yellow, a bunch of blue, a bunch of pink, almost no green. Well, not a bunch, not compared to others. So you asked, can you give me a band score? No, I can't. I don't. IELTS instructors shouldn't do that unless you pay them. C&C, cohesion and coherence. Well, here we see the 7 and 8. And your repetition of structures, or repetition of not necessarily exact cohesive devices. This is because, this is why, the reason for this, all mean the same thing. And so you don't manage all aspects of cohesion well. So that's going to be a 7. Lexical, vocabulary. Yeah. Do use a wide range of vocabulary, but does it convey the precise meaning? A variety of experiences? Maybe. Certainly a 7, but is it an 8? I'm not sure. Grammar. Here we have 7, 8, 9, because, 8 is pretty much for sure. Yeah, definitely an 8. Obviously, a majority of error-free. You have a wide range of structures. You use conditionals. You use participle clauses. You use, a whole bunch of different types of complex sentences and simple sentences with very few. Does it get to a 9? I don't know. I don't see many 9s, so I'm not qualified to tell you. Band score, but here's the thing, though. Lexical resource. Or task response. Okay? Here we have 6, 7, and 8. It's not an 8. To be an 8, it needs to be a well-developed response to the question, as you see up here in 8. Okay? With relevant and supported ideas. With none of these things. So no overgeneralization and no lack of focus. You definitely do this, so it can't be an 8. But the question is it a 6 or a 7? Well, all parts of the task, clear position throughout the response. That's the problem. At the end of body paragraph 2, you present a very strong argument for the other side, and you don't refute it. You don't dismiss it other than saying they should do it because it benefits them. What about the downsides of it? You have to address that. So I'm almost tempted, I'll give you a 6 there in task response. And here's where the danger of shooting for a 7 and why I think that people who are looking for the highest possible score should not try to get a 7. They should try to get an 8. So, can you get a 7 by addressing just one, by presenting a very one-sided essay? Yeah, you can. You just did. But one little slip, you get a 6 in task response and a 7 in the other categories, your score is a 6.5. Fortunately, your other abilities cancel out the possible 6, so it ends up a 7. But if you got a 7 in task response or an 8, you can easily you can do 8, 8, 7, 8. You could get a 7.5. You could get an 8. You really could. You got that skill. Just get rid of some of these bad habits. Conclusions are unclear. Okay. That's just what I was talking about. You shoot for a 7, one little mess up puts you at 6.5. So, thank you for the sentence to inspire my blog, and Joko signing out.